Gene Ulm on. I want to have him on just for a few minutes. I know he's busy, but to tell us about yesterday's race in Florida, and also to tell us about the statewide survey that he conducted on behalf of Mr. Hinckley, Barry Hinckley, who's running for the U.S. Senate as a Republican. Because, you know, I'm amazed that they released this poll, but fine, we're going to talk about it. But Gene, welcome once again to the Buddy Cianci Show.
You know, I'm shocked that in really what is a very blue state in Rhode Island, you have an incumbent senator with nearly one-to-one image, meaning equal people dislike him as like him. You know, we ask a question, you know, would you want to reelect him or do you want a new person? He has half the population wants a new person.
I found that to be unbelievable. I'm not unbelievable, but I found out that it was not exactly. I wasn't stunned by that because I've seen reaction to him in public, in parades and things like that, and he hasn't really connected. You're doing a reelect question, and only was it 39% say he should be reelected?
39.
Yeah.
And 50 saying they want someone new. I mean, in Rhode Island, which is, like I said, he is no Jack Reed.
Yep, and obviously, when now you go deep into the numbers, tell me why 50% of the people think they should want a new senator from Rhode Island.
Well, the first thing that we saw is no one associates the guy with any issue or accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, when we ask them, it's crickets. When we probe deeper, there's things like his insider trading and these types of issues are the only things that stand out. I mean, this guy is incredibly dependent on the blueness of Rhode Island, which given unemployment and everything else, like we're seeing everywhere across the country, has faded significantly.
Not stunning, but I found it somewhat surprising. In that he's upside down with his with independence, and that's half the state.
That is, you're absolutely right. When in a state when half the voters are self-described independents, that is a huge vulnerability. Huge vulnerability.
And he's upside down with them.
Yes, that when we look at those undecided voters,
yep,
and we look at how they answer other questions in the survey,
yep.
Here's another. They want someone new.
Yep.
By an 8 to 72 margin.
8 to 72.
8 to 72. So when we look at those undecided voters,
the undecideds, they want 72% to 8% want someone new.
Yes. So which way are they going to go?
Shecky's in trouble.
Which is dumbfounding, given how long Whitehouse has been around.
Well, maybe that's the problem.
What's he done? What's he been doing?
Well, your poll says I think you're absolutely right. I mean, let me give you an example. There are people, I don't have to tell you that the economy sucks in Rhode Island, that we've had all kinds of foreclosures. We have one of the highest unemployment rates in the country. That's
a scientific economic term, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And there's a picture of Sheldon. Where do you think there's a picture in the paper of him? Guess where he is? The Philippines, getting a frigate for the Coast Guard in Manila. Now, that's the kind of stuff that subliminally bothers people. Hang on, Gene. I got to do a little traffic, and then we'll be right back, and we'll analyze this poll that was done. And I'm surprised they're letting this thing out, but maybe you can tell me why they wanted to let this poll out on our show. Then they're going to give it to other news media after this. But Public Opinion Strategies is a very well-known company. Does the Romney campaign, did this poll in Rhode Island, and it's very surprising on Whitehouse. Now, I'm sure Whitehouse's people are listening, going to say, that's a lot of baloney. We got our polls. I'm telling you, I've been doing this a long time. These numbers are disturbing if I was Sheldon Whitehouse. We have Gene Ulm of Public Opinion Strategies on the line, just finished a poll. Let me ask you before we go, we've got a few more minutes. A poll like this, even though he's behind double digits, which he's supposed to be right now, in a blue state with a guy who's been in office a long time who's got $3 or $4 million in the bank, the Republican Party's got to look at these numbers in Washington, and there's no challenger to Hinckley. In fact, I think he even has a letter from the Republican state chairman that says they're backing him and there's no challenger that's any meaningful challenge to him. That now, when the money starts spreading around and Washington starts thinking about who they're going to support, and there's a lot of money down there.
Well, keep in mind also, Rhode Island is what we call in the business
a cheap state. It's a cheap date, yeah.
Yes, and it's when folks are when you look at the other competitive states in America, whether it's Florida or other, I mean, it is so much more expensive. Yet a vote in the Senate's a vote in the Senate, and Rhode Island is so much less expensive.
Yeah, you vote in that's right. You go to California, it costs $50 million, $100 million to get a Senate seat. Over here, $5 million. You can. Richard Leach, who's going to be on my show in a while, he was campaigning in California when he was running for the Senate. He was raising money out there. He says, it's cheap. It's a Senate. You can buy a Senate seat over here real cheap.
And the thing is that when it comes around Election Day, voters in Rhode Island are going to know Barry Hinckley. That is just going to happen.
Now, so this means that it's easy to raise money in Washington when you have no opponent, number one, and you have high negatives like this in a 39 reelect. That means something. You've been at this game a while. If you take those polls to the Republican committees in Washington and in the PACs in Washington, that's going to mean a heck of a lot more than a guy who didn't have these numbers.
That's I would think that this race is going up a few notches because of this.
Yeah, well, with the right amount of money and the right amount of campaigning, and with the right amount, and I'm sure he's going to do negative ads because a lot of people don't know about the insider trading with Sheldon Whitehouse. They don't know a lot of that stuff, and I guess if he brings up the fact that Sheldon wanted us to pay for all the Medicare costs in Nebraska to get the 60th vote, and when that gets on television at 800 rating points a week, there's going to be a lot of negativity with Whitehouse.
Actually, that doesn't sound so good when you put it that way.
Exactly. And the right amount of money, the right amount of negativity to start with, and then the right identification of the candidate can all make a difference. Gene Ulm, thanks for being with us. We'll talk to you from time to time. I'm going to analyze these numbers, but a little different from what I was expecting from this poll. Okay,
thanks for having me.
Okay, thanks, Gene Ulm of Public Opinion Strategies. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about it. We're going to have Frank Lombardi on from the Cranston School Board right after the news with Carolyn.